So we have Jen McConnell has published prose and poetry in more than 40 literary magazines, and her work has been nominated twice for a Pushcart Prize. Her first story collection, Welcome Anybody, was published by Press 53. A California native, she's lived in the Midwest long enough that she should be used to the winters by now. Jen's new book, Current Disasters, just officially released earlier this week, and there are a few signed copies left at magicaljeep.com, or you can get it anywhere books are sold. Jen,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for coming, everybody. First, I want to thank Michelle, who is a rock star, and Roadside Press. I am just thrilled to have been accepted and published by her. She's amazing. Um, I write short fiction, and this is my second book. And it's a mix of flash fiction, like very short, some medium, and some traditionally long short stories. Um, since my reading probably won't take very long because I'm like one of my stories is one sentence long. I'll leave some time for questions and answers if anybody has any, but don't feel pressured. Um, so I will start with American Gothic Getaway. She left town while he was at the dentist. Just leave, her friends said, patronizing her with their sympathy, but not offering to take her in for more than a night. No one wanted the drama that trailed her like a shadow, the shadow of a 200-pound man-child who raged at everything. She had given up trying to remember the good times. They were gone. The girl who smiled easily, the boy who made her laugh. After 6 months of planning and more stealth than she thought herself capable of, the day had come. She pretended to be asleep as he made his morning sounds, counting his footsteps until he was out of the door. She left the apartment with only her work bag, turning west instead of east at the corner. She was just another commuter until she stepped onto the train at Penn Station and rode away. Crossing into New Jersey, she thought about him sitting in the dentist's chair, head back, vulnerable. She left a voicemail saying she'd be working late. Eat without her, she urged, knowing he'd come by the office to see if she was lying. For once, she was. 24 hours later, she was in Iowa. He would be looking for her now, not frantic, just methodical, tracing her search history, hacking into her email, rooting through the garbage. He would find nothing. She erased herself thoroughly from both their lives. She stepped off the bus under a clear blue sky. The house stood by itself, even smaller than she imagined. The single Gothic window on the second floor was the only interesting feature on the simple structure. Without it, the house would not have become a fixture of Americana. She walked across the parking lot to the tiny visitor center, crowded with calendars, puzzles, and postcards. The homestead caretaker, a Midwestern woman, equal parts friendly and skeptical, took her cash deposit and 6 months' rent, laughably cheap compared to Manhattan. The woman gave her a county map and directions to the grocery store. No car? No, ma'am. Use the bike in the shed. That'll do until the snow. Yes, ma'am. You won't complain now about the tourists. You signed the contract. They won't bother me and I won't bother them. I heard that one before. The woman looked her up and down. On the phone, she told the woman she was an artist looking for a quiet place to paint. She must have passed muster because the woman finally shrugged and handed her the key. Follow me. Inside the living room, the furnishings were just as sparse in early 20th century as she had imagined. Just 500 square feet. The house would be cramped with anything but the basics. She'd never had so much space all to herself. It's perfect, she told the woman and began to climb the stairs. The woman stayed downstairs, the enigmatic smile frown never leaving her face. You won't be too lonely now, the woman called up. She stepped to the Gothic window. Beyond her new home, there was nothing but farmland and trees. Lonely, she'd known for years. Alone was what she craved. No, ma'am, she said. This suits me just fine. The next story is just a paragraph called The Wrong Way. Of course, I thought as the car slammed into me because I'd stepped into the road looking the wrong way. Why else would I have spent the last few weeks purging the boxes of old journals and scrapbooks and love letters if I hadn't seen the end coming? It wasn't your burden to go through my memories. and I didn't want you to see that I wasn't everything you hoped I was. This one is called "The Place We Held Our Wedding Is Now a Surf Shop." I'm not sentimental, but I don't want to be erased. That's why I motion the salesperson over to the table of folded green and yellow t-shirts. This is where we cut the cake, I explain. She narrows her eyes, trying, I can tell, to decide if I'm a well-dressed weirdo or a Vicodin addled housewife, and which one might cause her more trouble. The ceremony was at the church on the hill, I continue, but we had the reception here. Recognition in her eyes. She waves me over to a wall with framed black and white photos. The third from the left is what it looked like when we got married, though I remember the day in bright colors. 25 years ago, the lifetime of the young woman beside me. I moved toward the curved wall of windows where 200 guests enjoyed chicken or lasagna in green leathered booths. I traced the steps we took, newly minted and naive, handing out lace bags of sugared almonds as wedding favors. Our divorce was drama-free, just like our marriage, but the wedding was as magical as a little girl's dream. The voluminous dress is packed in a shadow box in the attic, too luckless to give away. The beloved shoes I dyed black and sold at a tag sale. I pluck a pair of sunglasses from the display that stands where the band played love songs. $16.95. Tourist pricing, I think, as I search for cash in my purse. The sales girl cuts the tag, and I wear the sunglasses out into the bright sun, passing the surfboards that stand where we once danced. The next one is somewhere. Some of you have heard this one. This is a story that's one sentence long. It's a run-on sentence. All the kids are in therapy. Life was just a series of soon-to-expire sticks of string cheese, but my brother, a monster with no imagination, ate his by biting into it like it was any ordinary food, whereas the rest of us, and by us I mean all of humanity, pulled the strings off one by one, dangling them, slurping them like spaghetti, whipping each other's cheeks with them like normal kids. And it makes you wonder what happens when a monster grows up and gets a job. And that's when the therapist asked if I had a happy childhood, and I hesitated, wondering if she really wanted the truth or rather the abridged version I gave everyone else. Because while people love to hear a tragic story, they preferred it in the third person. And that's when I realized I was reclining on a couch like a patient of Freud. And the couch wasn't for my comfort, but for the therapist. So she didn't have to look me in the eye when I opened my heart and let the truth rush out. And then I'm going to start reading a longer story, but I'm not going to finish it. You have to buy the book to get the rest of it. This one is called "The Best One-Armed Waiter in the West." Let me take this up here. It also, the only time I've ever been told by an editor that a story needed more zombies. On our first date, Shelley admitted she hadn't noticed right away that I only had one arm. To be fair, I was a zombie at the time. Zombies first, she said. We were in line for coffee during a break on the first day of the movie shoot. She was one of the cute villagers that wouldn't make it to the end. But I didn't know that when we met. All I knew was that female extras rarely talked to the undead. I haven't seen you before, I said. Is Stabby Stabby Death Death your first horror film? She laughed. I'm starting to fear that's not just the working title. I guess Hollywood ran out of words. This isn't just my first horror film, she said. It's my first film, like ever. I don't even know where to sit. I stared at her as she tilted her head back to drink. The sun lit up her marble green eyes. I'd been kicked in the teeth enough times not to get my hopes up, but it couldn't hurt to be friendly. Over here, I said. All the tables in the shade were taken, so I led her to the edge of the forest where Zed, the lead zombie, would later gather his army. My makeup was melting into my eyes. Not that it mattered. On set was the one place where the worse I looked, the better I looked. I wiped my forehead with the back of my hand. At the table, I angled to sit on her left side. From experience, I knew the longer we went without her noticing my missing arm, the longer she would talk to me. My non-zombie name is Vic, I said. I'm Shelley. So what's your zombie name? In the script, I'm number 22, but really it's ah or no, whatever they scream as they run away from me. Do you do this often? She asked. Be an extra. It's a steady gig. I don't have dreams of making it big. I do, she said. I've always wanted to act on stage, in movies. I have an audition for a commercial next week. After that, who knows? Before she could tell me more, a PA called all zombies to set. I glanced back as I walked away and saw that familiar puzzled look on her face. There was something about me that was different, but she hadn't figured it out yet. I didn't want to be there when she did. The next day, I saw Shelley standing in a crowd of other villagers waiting on cue. Plenty of the other women on set looked like movie stars or acted like they did, but they definitely never gave zombies or one-armed veterans a second look. Shelley was normal pretty, perfect for commercial work, and she had those eyes. Most importantly, when she saw me looking at her, she didn't run away screaming. I hadn't wanted to get to know a girl, really know one, in a long time. I wanted to tell Shelley that I lost my arm being a hero, but the boring reality was that I was a cook. I was part of the quartermaster corps, peeling potatoes, checking inventory, driving supplies. That's what my team was doing when we drove over the IED. Home from Afghanistan, I crawled into my parents' basement, living on daytime TV and beer, and listening to my parents argue about me. On Sundays, my high school buddy Bruce would come over to watch football or baseball. We rarely talked about anything other than sports, but sometimes he couldn't help himself. Come work for me, he said one day. A waiter quit last night. Could use another pair, don't say it, of hands. You know what I mean. Don't you think I need 2 hands to carry food? No. Then you're an idiot. What about Jim Abbott? People thought a major league pitcher needed 2 hands. That's different, and you know it. You think waiting tables is harder than pitching? Fuck you, Bruce. You can't stay down here forever. Why not? Free food, free healthcare, free TV. What else do I need? Friends, fresh air, a shower? I shook my head and pushed him out. The next Sunday, I wouldn't let him in until he promised not to talk about fresh air ever again. And back then, I certainly didn't want to make new friends. At the VA center, the girls I met were either lonely, crazy, or both. For a while, I hung out with a Navy vet named Gail, who was as miserable as I was. Her right leg was gone from the knee down. Those were dark months for us. Sloppy sex after drinking ourselves stupid. Finally, she told me she was ready to lighten up, and I was just keeping her down. I stole money from her purse and avoided her at the VA. As part of rehab, I was supposed to attend group therapy 3 times a week, but it bummed me out too much. Everyone in the group was missing some part. One Marine in a wheelchair was basically just a torso, and he was engaged to be married. Happiest motherfucker I ever met. I'd kill myself, and this guy'd feel sorry for me. I hated myself, but hated being with them even more. I spent the sessions at a coffee shop down the street, walking back to the VA before my mom pulled up to the curb. Months later, during a ride home, I saw my misery reflected in my mom's face. Bruce was right. I had to do something to show her I was moving forward. The next day, scanning the VA job board, I saw a flyer for vets to be extras in horror movies. Last thing I wanted to do was pal around with other freaks like me, but my options were 0 and none. Sorry, I just want to make sure the time. Okay. I took that gig and every other movie I could get to give my mom a break from looking at my dumb face. But the other reason, the one that maybe I could tell Shelley, was that dressed as a zombie or a mummy or a monster, I was just another actor. On the set of horror films, the percentage of extras missing an arm or a leg was pretty high. Half the times, the normals didn't even notice anything was missing, if they noticed us at all. And I'll stop there. Thank you.